The lobby was supposed to be empty at this hour. It always was, too late for executives, too early for the morning staff, a hollow space of marble and glass that belonged only to the hum of electricity and the quiet persistence of someone paid to erase other people's footprints. Noah Reyes liked it that way. He pushed the mop forward in slow, even strokes, the smell of industrial cleaner sharp in his nose. The chandelier above him glittered uselessly, its light bouncing off polished floors that would be dirty again by sunrise. His shoulders ached, and his left knee complained every time he leaned into the handle, but the rhythm soothed him. Work was simpler than thinking. Work didn't ask questions. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it at first, then sighed and pulled it out, glancing at the cracked screen. A text from Mrs. Alvarez, the neighbor who watched his son at night. Luis asleep. Had bad dream but he's okay. Left the light on like you said. Noah let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He typed back a quick thank you, added a heart emoji because Luis liked those, and slipped the phone away. Another hour, maybe less if he skipped the far stairwell, and then he could go home. He pictured his son curled up under the dinosaur blanket, thumb tucked into the corner of his mouth, trusting the world would still be there when he woke up. The mop squeaked softly as he turned toward the staircase, the one thing management insisted he clean every shift even though almost no one used it at night. The steps curved elegantly along the wall, white stone bordered by a glass railing. Beautiful. Dangerous. He'd slipped there once himself, caught only because he'd been holding the rail. He was halfway across the lobby when the sound cut through the quiet. A sharp crack, a breathless thud, then silence. Noah froze. For a moment, his mind tried to dismiss it, something falling, a door closing somewhere above, but his body didn't buy the lie. His pulse kicked hard in his throat as he dropped the mop and ran toward the stairs. She was lying at the bottom, twisted at an angle that made his stomach drop. One heel had snapped clean off. Dark hair spilled across the marble like ink. Her head lolled to the side, cheek pressed against the cold floor. "Oh my God," Noah whispered, dropping to his knees. He didn't recognize her at first. All he saw was a woman not breathing. He reached for her shoulder, hesitated, then shook it gently. "Ma'am, hey, can you hear me?" No response. His chest tightened. He pressed 2 fingers to the side of her neck, just like the instructor had shown him years ago in a stuffy community center classroom. 1, 2, 3. There. A pulse. Weak, but there. "Okay," he muttered, more to himself than to her. "Okay, you're not gone. Stay that way." He leaned closer, watching her chest. It didn't rise. Her lips were already tinged blue, the color wrong against her pale skin. Noah's mind raced. "Call 911. Yes." He fumbled for his phone, nearly dropping it, and dialed with shaking fingers. The operator's voice came on, calm and distant, asking questions he struggled to answer. "She's not breathing," he said. "She fell. Stairs. No, I don't know how long. Pulse is weak." "Is there an AED nearby?" the operator asked. Noah's eyes darted across the lobby. The red box was mounted on the far wall, at least 30 yards away. He looked back at the woman, at her still chest, at the seconds slipping through his fingers. "It's too far," he said hoarsely. "Begin rescue breathing," the operator instructed. "Tilt her head back. Check her airway." Noah swallowed hard and set the phone down on speaker. He slid one hand beneath her neck, the other on her forehead, gently tilting her head back. Her skin was cold, far colder than it should have been. He leaned closer, peering into her mouth. Something was wrong. Her jaw was clenched, throat tight, as if her body had locked itself shut. "Airways blocked," he said, panic creeping into his voice. "Can you clear it?" the operator asked. He tried, carefully, using his fingers, but there was nothing visible to remove. Just resistance. Her lips were slightly parted, breathless, unmoving. Noah's heart hammered. He thought of Luis, of the way his son had choked once on a piece of apple, eyes wide with fear, how Noah had reacted without thinking then too, hands moving on instinct. He knew what he had to do. For a split second, doubt flared, fear of doing it wrong, fear of crossing some invisible line, but it vanished beneath something stronger. Urgency. Humanity. "I'm going to give her a breath," he said. He pinched her nose gently, sealed his mouth over hers, and exhaled. Nothing. He breathed again, slower this time, feeling resistance. Then, finally, her chest rose beneath his hands. "Come on," he whispered against her lips. "Stay with me." He pulled back, watched. Still no breath on her own. He gave another breath. She coughed suddenly, violently, body jerking as air rushed back into her lungs. Noah startled, nearly falling backward as she sucked in a ragged breath, eyes flying open. She stared up at him, wild and unfocused, chest heaving. A broken sound escaped her throat as she tried to speak and couldn't. "It's okay," Noah said quickly, voice shaking now that the danger was cracking open. "You're okay. Help is coming. Just breathe." Footsteps thundered across the lobby. Security guards appeared, radios crackling, eyes widening at the scene on the floor. One of them dropped to his knees beside Noah, the other speaking urgently into his radio. She stopped breathing, Noah said, backing away to give them room. His hands trembled, slick with sweat. I gave her rescue breaths." The woman coughed again, drawing oxygen like she'd been starved of it, fingers curling weakly against the marble. As the guards helped her sit up, as paramedics were called, Noah finally really looked at her face. Recognition hit him like another fall. He'd seen that face before, on magazine covers in the break room, on news screens mounted in elevators. The sharp cheekbones, the unmistakable eyes. Elena Moreau, billionaire, tech mogul, the woman whose name topped buildings and headlines. She looked at him then, really looked, her gaze locking onto his with startling intensity. Confusion flickered there, then something else. Shock, maybe, or wonder, as her eyes dropped briefly to his mouth and then back to his face. Their kiss, born of desperation, suddenly felt unbearably intimate. "You," she rasped, voice raw. "Just breathe," Noah said softly. "You're safe now." Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, growing louder by the second. Noah pushed himself to his feet, legs unsteady, heart still racing. This wasn't his world, he was just the janitor who cleaned it. As the paramedics rushed in and the lobby filled with noise and motion, Noah stepped back into the shadows, unnoticed again. But Elena Moreau didn't stop watching him as they lifted her onto the stretcher. 3 days after the night in the lobby, Noah Reyes stood in front of a door he had never been meant to open. The executive floor was a different world from the ones he cleaned. The air smelled faintly of citrus and money, filtered and cooled to a perfect, unnatural balance. The carpet swallowed the sound of his shoes, making him feel like he was trespassing in a place where even noise had been designed to be exclusive. He adjusted the collar of his only decent shirt, the one he wore to parent-teacher meetings and court paperwork, and checked the number on the door again to make sure he hadn't misread it. Elena Moreau, CEO, a woman from HR, had met him downstairs, smiling too brightly, and escorted him up without explanation. "She asked to see you personally," she'd said, as if that sentence made sense. Noah knocked once, softly, then waited. "Come in," a woman's voice called. The office was enormous, all glass and clean lines, the city stretching endlessly beyond the windows like something she owned. Sunlight poured in, unfiltered by curtains or blinds, turning the polished desk into a reflective surface. There were no family photos, no clutter. Everything looked intentional, curated down to the last inch. Elena stood by the window, her back to him. She wasn't wearing a power suit or heels. She wore a simple sweater, soft gray, sleeves pushed up to her elbows. Her hair was loose, falling down her back instead of pinned into the sharp styles he remembered from television. For a moment, she looked almost ordinary. Almost. She turned when she heard the door close. Noah's breath caught despite himself. The bruising along her temple was faint but still visible, yellowed at the edges. Her movements were careful, as if her body hadn't yet forgiven gravity for what it had done to her. "You came," she said. "I was told to," Noah replied honestly. He shifted his weight, hands clasped behind his back out of habit. "I hope you're feeling better." She studied him in silence, the same penetrating gaze she'd fixed on him as they wheeled her away on the stretcher. It was unsettling, like being seen too clearly. "I am," she said at last. "Because of you." Noah swallowed. "I just did what anyone would." Her mouth curved, not quite a smile. "You'd be surprised how few people do." She gestured toward the seating area, but he remained standing until she sat first. Even then, he perched on the edge of the chair, as if afraid of leaving a mark. I've replayed that night over and over, Elena said. Not the fall. The moment after, when I couldn't breathe. Noah nodded slowly. He didn't trust himself to speak yet. I don't remember pain, she continued. I remember darkness. And then, warmth, pressure, air, you. Her eyes softened, something vulnerable passing through them before she straightened. They told me later that if you'd hesitated, even for seconds, the outcome would have been very different. I didn't think, Noah said quietly. I just couldn't let you die. The words surprised him with their honesty. He hadn't planned to say that. Elena's fingers tightened slightly around the arm of her chair. Most people in my life think, calculate, protect themselves first. She paused. You didn't even know who I was. No, he admitted. Not until after. And then it didn't matter, Noah said. A life is a life. Something in her expression shifted. Cracked, maybe, or opened. She stood and walked to her desk, picking up a thin folder. When she returned, she didn't hand it to him immediately. She set it down between them, giving him the choice to open it or not. I asked for your file, she said. Your real one, not the sanitized HR summary. Noah stiffened. As that, aloud, Elena gave a humorless laugh. Most things are, if you own the building. He exhaled slowly. I know you're a single father, she continued, gentler now. I know you work nights so you can be home when your son wakes up. I know your wife died 4 years ago and that you've never taken more than 3 days off in a row. Noah's chest tightened. He hadn't expected her to say it like that, to lay his life out so plainly. My son's name is Luis, he said. He's 7. Her eyes flickered with something like respect. He's lucky. Noah looked down at the folder. What is this? Options, Elena said. I won't insult you by pretending money isn't part of it, but it's not the only thing. She slid the folder closer. A full-time position on days. Facilities management. Benefits. Predictable hours. She hesitated, then added, there's also an education fund. For Luis. Enough that you'll never have to worry about how to pay for his future. Noah's hands trembled as he opened the folder. The numbers made his head spin. This is too much, he said hoarsely. I didn't do it for this. I know, Elena replied. That's why I'm offering it. He looked up at her, conflict written across his face. I don't want charity. Neither do I, she said firmly. This isn't charity, it's gratitude, and maybe something else. Silence stretched between them, thick and charged. I spent my life building walls, Elena said, her voice lower now. Around my time, my body, my heart. That night, you crossed all of them without asking permission. You saved me, and then you walked away. Noah closed the folder carefully. I had to pick up my son. Her lips curved into a real smile this time, small but genuine. Exactly. She took a breath, clearly bracing herself. I don't know what this is yet. I only know I don't want to pretend it didn't happen. She met his gaze, unflinching. I'd like to have dinner with you. Not as my employee, not as my savior, just as a man who kissed me back into the world. Noah felt heat rise to his face. He thought of Luis's laugh, of overdue bills, of how lonely his apartment felt after bedtime. I'm just a janitor, he said softly. Elena stepped closer. No, she said, you're the reason I get to stand here. Outside the window, the city moved on, indifferent and vast. Inside the office, something fragile and impossible took its first breath.